Advocacy groups and teachers' unions are calling on the Ontario government to provide a free breakfast and lunch program in schools across the province. The groups recently sent a letter to the Education and Children's Ministers. In it, they say current student nutrition programs are seeing increased demand but are not meeting the needs of students, and they want a better universal program. For more, we're joined now by Stephen Mensah. He's the Executive Director for the Toronto Youth Cabinet. It's the official youth advocacy body to this city. He joins us from Toronto today. So, Stephen, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Why do you feel that now would be the time for this universal breakfast and lunch program in schools?
Yeah, so we're seeing a rise in young people and children facing food insecurity in Ontario and just across Canada and North America and the world. Specifically in Toronto, we saw 1 in 4 children and youth were the visitors of food banks locally, and we know over 500,000 children in Ontario were food insecure last year in 2022, which was a 21% or 22% increase from 2021. And so we know now more than ever there's a huge need to ensure that we feed children and that no child goes hungry. And schools and government have a role to play to deal with this pressing issue.
500,000 kids facing that food insecurity. Obviously, that's a really big number. So what are you hearing from teachers across the province?
Teachers have had to step in and fill the gap when it comes to feeding children. I remember a couple of months ago, I saw an education worker at the school, and she literally cried in my arms while she was just speaking to the direness of the situation and the fact that even she herself, obviously is not making a tremendous amount of money, but she's had to prepare more food, extra food that she would prepare for her children, add more so that she can feed the students in her class. So, it's unacceptable that we have teachers and education workers having to step up and fill this gap that government should ultimately be stepping up and filling.
So let's talk then a little bit about some of what we've heard from government so far with some of these investments. So the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services in response have said that they're going to be adding $1.1 million, an additional $1.1 million into the Student Nutrition Program and First Nations Student Nutrition Program. And that's on top of that initial annual investment. So in your view, Stephen, is that sort of money, those dollar figures, is that going to be enough to make some sort of impact here?
Absolutely not. It's not going to put a dent. And, once again, 28 million is the base funding, and it hadn't increased or hasn't increased since 2014, nearly a decade, and student nutrition has remained stagnant. And so there's a urgent need for the government to quadruple their efforts, truthfully, to ensure that student nutrition programs don't have to ration their portions. Student nutrition programs are at a breaking point. Many are going to have to close down their doors before the school year ends. Many of them are not going to be able to feed children throughout the summer. And so we need meaningful, long-term and sustainable funding to ensure that children are fed and to ensure that, once again, the child's right to food is not a luxury that should be experienced by few, but a necessity deserved by all. And so the 1.1 million, I won't even say it's a start. We need major investments to ensure children are fed.
What if we look ahead to September, to the start of next school year? What would you like to see in place by then?
Ideally, at the very minimum, I would like to see a universal school breakfast program across this province, and to going further to ensure that students in the more priority neighborhoods and communities and cities across this province are able to offer lunch as well. So I think at the very least, if this government is going to do something, or it should be a universal free school breakfast program, while also prioritizing universal lunch for those in low-income communities.
Are you optimistic that that will happen, that they'll be able to get something in place by September?
I am optimistic, and I think it goes back to priorities. And I know us at the Toronto Youth Cabinet, we're going to keep applying the pressure. The statement that we released, it was I'd argue historic, because in Ontario we've not seen such a coordinated and unified message and advocacy calling for the government to do such a thing. And so we at the Toronto Youth Cabinet, we have more steps that we're going to be taking to push this government to ensure that, once again, no child goes hungry in the province of Ontario, a province that's so wealthy and abundant. So I'm optimistic.
Is there anything, Stephen, that you think the public can do here to try and help this situation?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, Toronto Cabinet, we have a petition now, so you can check our social media at TOU Cabinet. But even more so, really continue to share your stories and amplify our calls for universal free school breakfast and lunch program. Ultimately, it's individual stories and people's experiences that are really going to help move the lever towards change. And so I really hope people across the province come in and unify and join us as we are pushing the government to ensure, once again, that they feed the future and that no young person goes hungry.
And just finally here, Stephen, just a quick final question here. Are there any other areas or jurisdictions, provinces that do have some sort of school breakfast program in place that you think perhaps Ontario could look to or could try and model itself after?
I'd say, when we look at I think it was Nova Scotia, I believe Yukon, Newfoundland and Labrador has something. And just this past budget for British Columbia, they put an influx of funds towards their student nutrition program. I think it was the largest investment out of Canada. And so we do have other models in Canada. Obviously, when you go look at North America, many states have stepped up to provide a universal free school breakfast and lunch program. So Ontario is just not going to be a rarity for us by taking this step. So hopefully let's come and join all these other stakeholders who acknowledge that no child should go hungry, and we should deal with this calamitous hunger crisis that our children are facing.
Stephen, great to talk with you today. Thank you for this. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Stephen Mensah, he's the Executive Director for the Toronto Youth Cabinet. It's the official youth advocacy body to the city.